if you've been here this summer, you've benefited from introductions that Tonya has made. We've had wonderful speakers that she has sent to us, and so we're very grateful. She is a globally sought after speaker, and she has her own TV show. It's Tonya Hoffman's fabulous TV show. I've got to know where to find that. And a best-selling author. She's done international seller of 7 books. And she's won major awards, 4 of them, and one of them was the Women Network Conference Business Matchmaker of the Year Award, very impressive, and the Global Mentorship Award from the EBC. She's been featured on the cover of 5 magazines. My goodness, I think, tell anybody who wasn't here that they missed out. Anyway, it is my pleasure to introduce Tonya Hoffman. She is going to be sharing the weirdest way to ever find a job. Welcome, Tonya.
Wow, I'm so impressed with myself. It's always weird when you're listening to yourself. I am so excited to help y'all today, but you have to be really open, because when I say we're going to talk about some weird shit, we are, okay? But you have to be open to doing something completely new and challenging yourself and wanting to change, and that's usually the hardest thing. I remember, gosh, it's been probably 10 years ago, I used to go to job clubs all the time and talk to them, but I found that people weren't wanting to do anything different than they were already doing. And then I got tired of it and I left, right? And so when they asked me to come and speak, I'm like, okay, are they going to be ready for some change? Are they going to be ready to do something that's out of their comfort zone? She goes, I hope so. And I was talking to a few of y'all, and you're wanting information, but it's then what are you going to do with that information? I know a few people, and I'd say that with a smile, okay? Because it's all about not what you know, it's all about who you know. And we say that all the time, but people don't really grasp that concept. And then they don't know what to do with it once you do get the concept. Right? If you look at social media, I've had 50,000 people in my social media realm, a little over that. What does that really do for me? On a day-to-day basis, not really anything. When I really want to use it, ooh boy. And it's the same thing for you. And it doesn't require you to have a huge list. I actually prefer it when people have small lists, because those people on your list actually know you. Versus my list, they know of me. Does that make a difference? So a lot of times people aren't even using the people that they even have connections to. So we're going to do some interactive stuff today. So y'all going to have to get uncomfortable really fast. And we're going to do some interactions that are going to train you. It's going to get you ready to go into not only finding a job, but then how, once you get a job, how to progress quickly in that position. So these are skills that you're going to learn today. And then we're going to talk about some really crazy stuff that gets you to really expand things that you probably never even thought of how to find a job. Sound good? Y'all ready to play? Okay. So the first thing I need you to do is I need you to find a partner. Find a partner. Who are you going to get? You probably want to scoot over toward them. Okay.
Okay.
So we also, does anybody not have a partner? One person.
I'll fill myself.
Okay. You're good. You'll know what you've done things I've told you. Now, if I was you, I would have ran over and partnered with this lovely lady who had all the job opportunities. Just saying, okay? So sometimes it's about being smart and jumping at an opportunity. Okay? Just wanted to point that out, right? Okay. All right. So we're going to do some, and guys, I'm sorry, this is kind of touchy-feely. Okay, you don't have to touch anybody, but, we're talking about some fun stuff. So you have to get over it. I did it with the 150 chiefs of police with guns at their side. So if they could do it, you could do it, all right? So the first thing is you got to decide who's going to be A and who's going to be B. Make a decision. So our first exercise, B gets to go first. Because A is always like, oh, that's why I wanted to be A. Okay. So we're going to do B first because the first exercise is the easiest one. And then we'll do it and we'll switch. And the next exercise, A gets to go first, and it's the harder one. Is that fair? All right. All right, so what I want you to do is we're going to have this little conversation with each other. Now, I have to get control over you because I know some of you like to talk and not stop. So I want you to learn the coyote. All right, we're in Texas. We close our mouth and we open our ears, right? So when I do this, that means it's time to stop and close your mouth and open your ears. But you're not going to see it. You're going to hear it because I will howl. So when you hear me go, "Awoo!" that means close your mouth and bring your attention back. Make sense? Got it? All right. So it's only the Californians that have a hard time with that. I don't know why. So anyways, when we go into it, B is going to tell A how fabulous they are. Okay? Now, you probably don't even know this person. So a lot of times it's just on what do you see? What do you experience? You know, what do you visually see about them? Okay? But tell them how fabulous they are, whatever that looks like to you. All right? And then we'll switch, and then A will tell B. Sound good?
Wait, are you talking about yourself or the other person?
You're going to tell the other person how fabulous they are. The other person. Okay? All right. Wait. Ready. Set. Go. Oh. Switch. Switch to the next person. A, tell B. Nice. Awesome. Did that feel good? Yes, it did. It always feels good, right? It feels good to get someone to say, oh my gosh, you're so fabulous. And then it's also great when you gift. And it didn't cost you anything, right? This skill will take you to wherever you need to go. Because most people in life are never told how fabulous they are. So do you think that you would be someone that sticks out in their minds if you told somebody that? It's massive. You just see the smile come on, even if you're just at the grocery store or a Starbucks and you're like, oh, I love those shoes, and you just start a conversation, right? I mean, and it is so important to create this skill and use it all the time. People want to hear how amazing they are. And believe me, people want to hear about themselves. Now, the second skill is a little bit harder. The second skill is about yourself. Because we hate boasting, gloating, talking about ourselves, right? When people ask you, what do you do? Who are you? You're like, I'm looking for a job. That doesn't help at all. Okay? So you also need to learn to talk about what are you really good at, so that they know how to absorb that information and do something with it. But if you can't impress somebody, and it doesn't matter what you've done in life, there is something that you're really good at. And it's probably a skill that somebody really needs help with. So don't just throw out, it's important to throw out titles. Oh, I was the, right? So titles, people love titles, all right? Get over it. So throw out titles, but then get down the core value of what was really powerful about what you do. Does that make sense? but then you got to say it, and you got to say it out loud. All right? So now A gets to go first. All right? And you're going to gloat, and you're going to boast. And you got to do it for 30 seconds. I know. You're like, oh my gosh. I know, right? I know. This is the point where people do not want to stop talking about themselves, okay? So we will have to get control. Okay. And remember that I will owl and you'll switch. All right? And then it'll be B's turn, A, okay? Just control yourself. All right. Ready, set, go. Ooh, switch. Ooh, wrap it up. See, they can't stop. They're like, me, more. More. I'm not through yet. How did that feel? Some people are like, ooh. Now, this is what's always interesting. The ladies are like, oh, I just, I don't like talking about myself. And then there's people like my husband who's like, yeah, I know I'm good, so what about it,
I don't say it like that.
Sure. So, this is a skill you got to get used to so that when you're approaching somebody, they can absorb something because it's too flat, right? When you're talking to somebody in person, a lot of times the conversation is too flat. You don't get into depth because sometimes there's this great opportunity and it'd be like perfect and you're like, well, you never even thought about that position before. But because you have that skill set, it's just like a puzzle piece that fits. So open up and tell people about your skills beyond just the titles that you're wanting. Got it? Nice, thank you. Now, the next skill is how are you going to help the other person? And this is one that people are like, huh? It's about me, right? When we talked earlier about it's who you know, not what you know, it's not just about who you know, but what are you doing for them? Because it's amazing what people will do for you when you ask them how you can help them. When I went to a huge conference, it was like 1,500 people. I walked in and I looked around and I'm a speaker. I want to go out and do trainings and coachings and, I want to go in and help companies. So, first of all, I got rid of the people I came with. You already network with them. Stop sitting with people you know, right? Then I looked around and I'm like, who's got money in here, right? You got to be smart about who you're sitting with. So, a lot of those events, they have tables that are bought by a company. Are you going and sitting at their table? Because a lot of times they buy a table and they never fill up the table, So there's always like holes in those tables. So, I can't find a place to sit. Do you mind if I sit with you? And they're going to go, yeah, come on. And if they don't, you don't want to work for them anyways, right? So it's also about what kind of culture you're wanting to go into. So there was two guys, and you know what's great about guys? They never like to sit next to each other. Right? So there's always an empty spot. And ladies, they love it when a lady wants to sit in between them. All right? So, I went over and I was like, may I sit with y'all? And they're like, sure. And I sit down. Now, they're procurement guys. It was a procurement event. Do you think they've been hit up like all day long? And of course, that's what they're ready for. So instead, I was like, so, what do you do? Oh, they say, and then they feel like, well, of course, we're blah, 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 with procurement, blah, 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 And I'm like, oh, that's really great. So how can I help you? How can I serve you? I mean, the shock on their face, they're like, Oh, I don't know. What do you do? See, I didn't come in. I want that, it was, what can I do for you? I told him what I was looking for. And he's like, oh, yeah, let me have you come in. I'm going to connect you with the lady. I'm going to fly you out to Midland. Yeah, you have to go to Midland. You go to Midland, and, we're going to fly you in and put you up for the night, and we'll wine and dine you, and we'll pay you, $5,000 to come do a couple-hour training. I'm like, would that work for you? I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. Okay? Because I sat down against two guys, and I asked them, how can I help them? Most people never even follow up with how you can actually help them. It's just the giving that they're looking for, that they're shocked about. So how can you help people? And sometimes you can't, right? Sometimes someone will say, well, actually, I'm looking for, you're like, oh, well, I'll think about that. I'll see and I'll connect and see who else I know that might be able to help you. It's just the thought that you're wanting to help them. This is a massive difference in people that create no movement to people who create massive movement. Even when you get the job, you go and you ask, the boss's boss's boss, right? Get into the elevator with the CEO. How fun is that? How can I help you? What do you mean? I'm the CEO, right? I mean, it's just not a question that people ask people. So think through your connections. Each one of you do. You have connections here, right? You can connect people to Shannon and to other people by virtue of you're in this environment. And this is why it's so important to be part of groups and being part of organizations, associations, because you can always say, oh, I know an association, and you always know the person who runs it. The president, right, is always someone you take out to lunch. Because you're like, oh, I can connect you to the president of, that's what I was just doing, what's your name? Lucia. So Lucia and I was like, oh, you need to know about the executive women in Texas government, and I can connect you to the president. And she's like, well, that is awesome, right? So you know the president. If you go to church, you know the pastor, your priest, right? The person, even more importantly, the person who's running the whole show for them, right? That is an amazing person. The people that are the connection factor, those are the people you want to personally know. And it not a lot of times is even about you. It's about the people that you could go, oh, well, I know blah, 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 blah. That's how you can connect them. Does that make sense? So when you start looking at it, then who are you going to go to that would be a perfect group to be involved with? And a lot of times it's about these subgroups. It's not usually the big organization for your specific, it's always good to be a part of those type of groups, but everyone is doing the exact same thing. So you put yourself just slightly outside of that, then you're not just one of a gazillion. Does that make sense? So if you go to like the executive women of Texas government, that's a great group if you're trying to get a job into the government realm. And these are executive women. So these are women who are making decisions and who have connections to the people who will get you in. And guys, guess what? Just because it's a women's group, you get to stand out. It's not a negative. Now, there is some women's groups you do not go into, but that's like with anything. I do a whole lot of speaking to events that I'm the only whatever in the crowd. The only chick, the only white girl, the only blonde, the only straight girl, whatever it is, because I want to stand out. And it makes it very easy when you're the only whatever in the crowd. So get really uncomfortable, because pretty soon you get comfortable anyways. Push yourself out there. There's also like the WBEA, like That one's connected to the Houston market, the WBCS. Everything is an acronym, you have to kind of catch up on it. But that's women. It's an organization part of WeBank to help you get certified to do business with big business and government. Now, you may not want to get certified and own your own business, but guess who's always at their events? People who are employed. And it's usually the upper level, right? If you're always going after the person at the lower levels, they're talking to hundreds of people versus the one person at the top that can go, oh my gosh, yeah, let me get you connected. Like when my daughter was graduating this year, she was like, oh my gosh, I need a job, right? It's coming up to the end. I'm like, oh my gosh, those bills are starting to click in, right? And I just reached out to people that I knew. I know a whole lot of people in the gas and oil industry, right? If you're in the gas and oil industry, okay, well, Houston, all right, you gotta wait a week. But there is so many events down there that you could get involved with. And there's even ones, and guys, I would really encourage you to go to some of these women's groups. I know, right? Because you're like, yeah. But you do stand out, and because then you're connected to people that are wanting to help. And a lot of these organizations, that's really what they're there for, is to help you. So if you look at WeBank, they have their massive conferences every year. If you don't do anything else, you should be going to their conferences and go always to the VIP. Spend a little bit more money and go to any VIP event and schmooze. Network. Walk up to somebody, say, hi, so who are you? Hi, Lucia, right? What do you do? Don't talk about yourself. Get Lucia to talk all about herself. And then afterwards, how can I help you? And then not until they ask you about you do you even say anything about you. Because if they don't care, why tell somebody? Okay? And I've gotten into so many opportunities, even one where I'm helping a company launch across the United States and then go global now, all because I reached out and I just said, how can I help you? So it's kind of fun helping them and finding people who want to be entrepreneurs now and help them have a steady income. That's always awesome, right? So when you start looking at it, it's all about that reaching out. All right, so you learn the skills of how to connect with people, how to develop a conversation, and then you say, okay, what kind of events can I go to use this skill? Everything is an event. And it's the hardest thing to get across is every time you're in front of somebody new, it's somebody new. And you have to look at also the opportunity, does it fit with you? Because realistically, if you just take an opportunity just because it's available, you may be back in here really quickly. So you have to think about what is your 2 rules. We all live by 2 rules. And they're your core cultural definition of what's really important to you, so that if you find someone without those core rules, it's a no. Like with my organization and all my company, and whenever I bring on clients, I immediately ask them, are you part of my 2 rules? My first rule is you have to be nice. No mean, grumpy, negative people ever allowed. That's my favorite rule. And the other rule is no perfect people, please. I can't be perfect. I don't expect anybody else to be perfect. What is your core value? Right? Yours could be you have to be perfect. I would expect everything. I expect myself to be perfect, everyone else to be perfect. So that's your core value. Then the event and the company you want to go work for, you need to make sure you're in alignment. Make sense? Because you want to stay there. You don't want to have to keep coming back. even though I'm sure Shannon would love to see you again. Kind of beats the point, right? So what I want you to do is I want to think about right now, what is your core 2 rules that you live your life by? Right? I know my husband had his core value was we just don't, we won't do anything illegal. I know that you think that would be like, of course. But there's some people who have no problem with that. And so he ran into a company he was working with that was working with the government. He had to vacate, right? So you have to have that core value. So you get to go first again. Yay! And I want you to tell your partner, what is your 2 core value rules that you live your life by and do business by? All right? So ready? You got about 15 seconds. Ready, set, go. Okay, switch. Oh. Oh. When you heard your partner's rules, you're like, oh, I like that one too, right? How many of you put that on your resume? Ooh, right? That, it's things like that that make you stand out. How do you go beyond just a statistic? Because a lot of times it's really just kind of what you are. It's just a face, a name, and blah, 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 blah. So you're always looking at how do you kind of move past that. Now, it was funny, my husband and I, we sold one of our business. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 25. And we sold one of our businesses, and I'm like, oh, what do we want to do now? It's like, oh, let's go do one of those headhunter people things, right? And I went in, and it's like, what, you want me to go and fill out forms? Did you ever feel that way? Because this like shocked me that I had to fill out a form to try to get a job. I'm probably like your nightmare person, right? You're like, forms? How are they going to get to know me in a form? And so I was like, well, why don't I just go up and talk to the CEO? And he goes, what? Right? Because that's where I'm used to playing. And it's amazing how people will reach out and talk to you. Management, upper management, executives, do you know that they are real people? Right? And a lot of them feel really lonely at the top. And then when you reach out with, hey, I'd love to find out how I can help you. Really? Again, it's just you kind of do that, Scooby-Doo thing. You're like, whoop, what? Whoop. Oh, my friend does it way better. I'm like, I really got to perfect that. So how do you make someone go, what? What do you mean? That is the difference. Now, if you look in the people just in this room, they all have connections. They all have a past and a present. Have you gotten together for coffee with each other to find out who you know and who they know? And then see how you can help. Reach out and ask for help. There's so many networking groups, meetup groups out there, and we all know a ton of people. I used to own a huge statewide networking group organization. Now mine is global. I know a few people, right? Now when you start really looking at that, when you go and you talk to somebody, again, how can I help you? They usually will ask you the same thing back. So it's just kind of human nature. When you go to help somebody else, they feel like they owe it to help you. And sometimes it doesn't go anywhere. But I have worked harder to help somebody find a job because they asked me than for someone just to come to my networking group and just like show up. Most people never ask. Your congregation at your church, do they even know you're looking? At your school, kids' school, are you going in and chatting with people? What's interesting to me too is that people are always thinking singularity. So if I talk to this gentleman and he doesn't know anything about anybody or anything, I'm like, but he may be married. And his wife may know somebody, or his brother, or his dad, or his dog. They may be best friends with another dog. You have no idea. All right? So what is it about the connection? Stop cherry picking. Stop assuming. It's the same thing with entrepreneurs. I do it all the time with entrepreneurs. They're like, I can't find any customers. Really? There's 1 million plus people in Austin. Really? Right? It's because they're in their little scare zone, not wanting to talk to somebody because from this weird perception that person's going to be really ugly back. I love it when I find someone really ugly. Because there's 2 buttons I love pushing, and one of them's the block, and the other one's the delete button, right? I love that part on Facebook. I'm like, oh, you're such an idiot. Delete, right? Take it beyond what you normally do and reach out. So what I always look at is, say I'm the keynote speaker for an upcoming event in Dallas. Okay, events would be awesome for y'all to go to. Like, there's so many conferences. Name it, oh my gosh. IT conferences, ITIS industries, OMG, there's one like you won't believe, all right? Connect with me. There's a gazillion for you to go to. So when you start going into these environments, what are you doing before you get there? This is the weird part, right?
Research, check them out.
Check out what?
Check out who they are.
Who is who? Not just the organization, not just the conference, but who's going to attend.
Who's going to attend, yeah.
Right? So one of the things is to reach out to each of the individuals that are speakers. Right? And it's pretty easy because a lot of times they'll even have their Facebook or LinkedIn, you just click on it, it goes to their, message them. Hey, I see you're going to be at this conference. Me too. Wanted to see how I can help. You see that it's not a, hey, I'm looking for a job, right? It's a, hey, I want to see how I can help. And then you get an actual conversation. Now, sometimes you won't get anything, right? And that's fine. That person probably rarely checks their Facebook messages, right? So you just keep going. If they got an email, shoot them an email. If they got a phone number, actually call people. I don't want to bother them. Do you know most people feel like you're honoring them by calling them and asking? Calling them about reaching out? Because remember, it's not just about you, it's about your center of influence as well. Each one of you has a center of influence. Each one of you has groups of people that you know. So don't discount yourself by saying, I don't know anybody, I can't help anybody. Well, if that's really the case, you need to get out more. Okay? So reach out and contact. If they've got a list, a lot of those events have a list of who's going to be there in their expos. So reach out to them before the event. So say if you go to the WBA conference in Houston, that's oil and gas, like if you're wanting into that arena, OMG. Now it's all the procurement people, but you know what? They all know other people in other departments. Isn't that amazing? People always like, oh, I don't need procurement. So what? It's about who they know. Stop thinking singularity. And yes, it may not go any place, but we'll put you in a different bucket. And a lot of times it's mindset, right? You do something different and you push yourself and you do something that you've never done before and you contact someone, then the universe goes, wow, this person's really serious about really wanting to help people and go and connect, and then you just have this motion, this ripple effect. And you just never know where it's going to come, what's going to happen to it. So then you take it and you take it a step forward. And so you go and start hitting all the expo people and, the sponsors, right? I mean, hello, Chevron, Exxon, everything. Boom, boom, boom. Verizon, AT&T. You've got massive connections there. So then when you go, hopefully you've already had a conversation. So when you, hey, I'm Tonya. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's so great to see you in person. Because they're going to remember you because you said, how can I help you? Another thing, when you go to these kind of events and you just kind of show up and you're walking around the expo, a lot of times, especially like at this huge procurement events, there's like lines of people stretched to talk to the procurement person for Exxon. I mean, the line is like forever. But there's always one person sitting back there on their phone that's just sitting there. Who do you think is the real person you need to talk to? Right? It's not the person that's dictating and thank you, right? That's the $10 person hour. The management, the one who makes the decision, is the person when something's flagged that they send them over to. So I always just kind of hang out. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Oh my gosh, can you believe, wow, what line? I just started a conversation, and then I say, so how can I help you? They're like, oh, wow, I don't know. Says, I'm going to go to Starbucks. Do you think going to get Starbucks for someone makes them go, oh, yeah, Things like that makes people go, I need to talk to you. And then they always usually ask, who are you? What do you do? There's your open door.
Right. Exactly.
So I want you to start thinking beyond the fill out the form. Fill out the forms, right? Because you never know what that's going to turn into. But take it to the next level. Especially if you're wanting to hit a higher class, if you're not just trying to get a McDonald's job, but you're actually trying to take it up a notch and trying to get especially at C level. They all know each other already. Think about people that you've known from other companies that you might have worked with or talked to at some point. Have a conversation with them. Hopefully you've already done that. But then ask them, how can I help you? And what's really weird is then when you tell them that you're unemployed, that you're looking for a job, and you're like, that was so nice and you were going to help me when you need the help. I mean, it doesn't come off as then desperate. It comes off as connective and that you care. Is this good?
Yeah.
So the last little bit, and I was going to have y'all, so I'm doing a little contest so that I do a free coaching session for one person. It's $1,000, I do charge $1,000 an hour. If you want to know how to do that, let me know. So if you're interested, you can fill out the little form. So I want to also talk about global perspective, because the U.S. is really only about 20% of the marketplace now. And some people are kind of shocked when I say that. And I say it's because we are Americans and we only see within our own borders. So then it's also about how can you help people way beyond that opportunity. How about a global opportunity? So what's happening in the rest of the world, especially places like Vietnam, oh my gosh, they have so much money to spend. And what's brilliant about you, are y'all ready? This is something you can put down that I'm brilliant at. You're American. And they think you already know it. They think we all know everything. It's amazing. They will listen to what you have to say because we are. Now, this is the little fun thing about being an American, and you have an advantage over all Americans. Something that you can pull out of your hat and use. You're Texan. Even if you're just new here, it's okay. You're now officially Texan. Okay? Because they may have an opinion of what an American is, but they have a completely different opinion of what a Texan is. And they love Texans. Now, you will have to admit that you go to the grocery store on your horse. I don't know how that logistically works, but, just go with it. And your cow out back, her name is Bessie. Okay? Just go with it. But it's a completely different atmosphere when you are a Texan. So start looking also at branching out globally. That's what I did. When I was talking to my friend David, he's lived for 20 years in Asia. And he's like, Tonya, you need to come over here. You need to do a whole conference tour. We're going to do one in Singapore, Hong Kong, Vietnam. Then we're going to go to Malaysia and Thailand. He goes, the middle class is exploding. They're spending $1 million on their homes in cash. I'm like, okay, why am I not already over there? It says their businesses are exploding. They're spending a lot of money on personal development, on business development, because they want to do it right. And right now, it's only Australians and the English that are really playing over there. So it's about time to have some Texas accent and some Texas attitude. And I was like, that's awesome. Of course, he was also telling me I need to bring whole business opportunities over there, home-based business, because that's massive over there, especially for all the women. So I was like, okay, that's why I'm helping them launch this other business across the U.S. and then going international. So you look at opportunities. The people that I'm getting to meet internationally, I just talked to a lady last night from Australia who's from Vietnam. And I got connected to her from a lady in Canada. How did I get connected to a lady in Canada? From a lady in England. Because the rest of the world is all connected. It's like you talk to people in the U.S. and they just know people in their own cities and they're kind of clustered. And I'm not sure why that is. My husband always mentions, because he's half German and half Mexican, that's why he's the biggest freaking Mexican you've ever seen, is, like 10% of Americans have passports. Right? It's so tiny. So we got to start looking at the world as a playground for us, because we have an expertise that people really want, and they're willing to pay for it, which is even better. And yeah, we were just talking with Alicia about, there's cultural differences that you just got to get used to. You can get used to it, especially if they're going to pay you. Right? People are like, well, I don't like fish. I think you can get used to it if they're going to pay you $20,000 a month. I love fish. So I always look at, how do I go beyond my box? And so I want you to adopt a goal each year. Now, people think it's a sucky goal because I never change my goal. They're like, what kind of goal is that? My goal is to look back at myself the year before and not recognize myself. That means you have done some crazy shit. You've done things that you didn't think you would ever be able to do. You're going to be able to walk up to somebody, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go talk to this person. I'm going to go sit in the middle of these two guys. I'm going to go. And you're like, I can't believe I did that. It could be, I just updated my LinkedIn account. I know. It's amazing, because it's just little baby steps. If you had seen me back in 2005 when I first started in my little career, I had retail stores before then. I was a wholesale sales rep. And then I was like, I'm going to do marketing. And chambers of commerce and networking groups? Oh my. Because I used to stand up and shake and sweat. Do y'all do that? Oh my God, it was awful. So I had to get over the people are going to see me syndrome, right? And get over all of those issues. The first video I ever did was, "Hello, I am Tonya Hoffman. Thank you for showing up today." I mean, it was awful. But we all start somewhere and we progress. And we progress, but we can't progress if you don't start. And I always go up to the most brilliant person in the room, whoever that person is, that has the most connections, that has the biggest smile, because that means they usually have the biggest connections, and get connected. And what do I ask them?
How can you help?
I've been on the cover of the NSA CAPS magazine, the front cover of their magazine. Now that's my competitor's magazine. And people are like, "How are you on your competitor's magazine?" I mean, a whole full article, and I mean, it was crazy. And people were like freaking out, including the organization. They're like, "Why did you put our competition on the front cover?" And the lady's like, "She was nice. She helped me." Because people like that are called volunteers, and volunteers love help. And it's amazing what they'll do. They'll put you on the freaking cover of their magazine, no matter what the repercussions are. Really good. So push yourself to do something crazy, something that's completely out of character. And you IT guys, get over that you're IT guys, okay? You can still talk to people. You can still wear shoes. I love going to ITIS conferences. Oh yeah, and especially like, if you're in an industry, like I went and spoke at the Financial Associations of Pensions Departments. Ooh, they only talk in acronyms. I don't know what they said the whole time. So also be prepared that you may be talking in jargon that the person that's interviewing you or the person that you're talking to may not get, right? I could use terms for the speaking world and you'd be like, "What's that?" Right? So you have to just remember that there is jargon words that people may feel, you never want to make people feel dumb. And as soon as that expression of, make sure you explain whatever that acronym you just used or that jargon word is. That's just a little side note. That really irritates me. I was like, these people were talking, I'm like, I have no idea. I know they must be speaking English, but I have no idea. Okay.